Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is April 1st, 2022. I am the founder of the Sales Pro Network. I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations for 48 years now to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. I founded the Sales Pro Network as a place to elevate the profession of sales and where salespeople can come together to learn, network, and just make more money. And every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we do a live broadcast, and we either have a wonderful guest who can add value to the profession of sales, or I do a live training. Today, we're going to do the former, and I found somebody fantastic for you. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the incredible sales coach, Hannah Walker. Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm outstanding and so glad to be speaking with you. I'm following you, all your moves on Facebook, and I really am excited to be chatting today. Before we get going, could you just maybe give us a couple of minutes of what brought you up to this point? What made you to a sales point, into a sales coach? And before you do that, if you're watching us live, please do say hello in the comments. If you're watching us on Facebook and you have not connected your account to StreamYard, we won't know who you are. So please do include your name. And if you're watching us on the replay, please put replay in the comments. So Hannah, tell us about how you got to be a sales coach.
Yeah, so my journey's a bit weird, I suppose, for a lot of people. A couple of people always sort of say, like, how did you end? Okay, it seems weird. So I started my life as a mechanical engineer. I did engineering at university. About halfway through my second year, I was like, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I was like, oh shit, like, okay. But we had to do kind of like summer placements and things. Like we were encouraged to do like mock interviews, and I think they see engineers and they're like, okay, we need to give you people skills. Like we need to kind of teach you how to talk to other humans. And that's not something I've ever had a problem with, but I was like, okay, I'm down, like I'll have a go. And I ended up doing an interview with Siemens and was like, I don't actually know what you do in the UK. I thought they made mobile phones. I was convinced they made mobile phones, actually. But I asked them a question at the end. I was like, oh, can I have a summer job? Basically, I was like, I need to ask a question. And the guy was like, do you know, I don't think you'd really fit in engineering, but have you ever thought about maybe going into more of like a commercial role sort of thing? And I was like, at this point, mate, I'll take anything. Like I need a graduate job. You know what it's like, final year of your studies, you're worrying about the future. So I ended up going and working for Siemens and worked my way through their business. Was working on multi-billion-dollar contracts, selling service contracts and brand new power stations. So I worked for the power generation industry and adored it. I loved every second of it. I really managed to like get my teeth into it and realize that sales is just problem solving, but it's just problem solving for the front end rather than the actual kind of back end. They do all the hard work and I can kind of like solve the problem at the front. Then I moved from Siemens to a software company. I sold software internationally for nearly about 3 years. Got to work all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, the States, absolutely adored it. Took the business from a couple of $1 million to over $10 million. We were like really growing. But I kind of became a bit jaded with corporate sales and was a little bit sort of like, they were very old school. Heavy industry especially is very, very old school in their sales approach. They're very into cold calling, and you only go to networking events and conferences to find more clients. You don't go to kind of learn and make relationships and things. So I made the decision to leave. I didn't have any plan. I was just like, I'll figure it out when I get out there. It'll be okay. And then kind of fell into coaching and sales coaching. I was like, the pandemic hit. It was a fantastic time to leave a corporate job just before a global pandemic hits the world. But I was on masterminding calls and networking calls and things, and realizing that there were so many people who were really struggling when it came to sales, business owners that had started their business with a passion or with a fantastic skill set, but didn't necessarily have the skills when it came to sales and were missing massive opportunities within their business of ways of plugging income leaks and creating more solutions for their clients without actually having to do any more work, and it just kind of fitting in. Um, and I suppose being an engineer made that really easy for me because I'm quite lazy. Like, engineers are lazy. Like, let's be honest, we find the easiest solution for doing something. So to me, I'm like, well, why aren't you doing this? Like, why aren't you adding this in? Why don't you actually automate that and make it easier, sort of thing? Um, and then I joined a network, and my business coach basically was like, so why aren't you doing that? And did exactly the same conversation that I was having with all these other people. Um, and yeah, and then since then it's kind of gone a bit mad. Everything, I've been doing this just over a year now. I've got over 100 clients. Like, I've worked with over 100 business owners of so many different scales, from solo entrepreneurs up to kind of big, businesses, helping them with their processes and their strategies, because shock, the engineer likes a process and a strategy. um, so yeah, that's kind of, I suppose that's been my journey, really. Engineer turned corporate sales turned sales coach. Yeah.
It's fantastic. You know, coincidentally, my daughter, my oldest daughter, is in university right now, studying aerospace engineering, and I love the way her mind works. She is not lazy at all, but she is really good at figuring out how to make things more simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Her
I
studies are
say
not simple at all.
lazy. Yeah, it's people. I say to people, I joke and I say, "Oh, engineers are lazy." We're not lazy. We're just very efficient, and we will find the way of doing something easier, because then it means we can have more time to solve other problems and get our teeth stuck into something else. So,
Yeah, I love the way her mind works. And I guess we should probably point out, people probably noticing you have an accent. You're from the Bronx, right?
yeah, the other side. If you go to New York and then keep going.
Would you like to let people know where you're actually?
Yeah, so I'm based in Newcastle in England, in the UK. So yeah, this side of the pond.
Great. Well, let me just say hi to some people. Good morning, Fran Cole Hebler. She says hello from Texas. Greg Kettner from the Work Happy Nation. Hello, Jeff and Hannah. Greg Kettner's he's a happiness coach. He gives incredible speeches and works with organizations to help them work happy. Good morning, Robin Long. Outstanding to see you. Good morning, David Guthrie. And good morning, Ben Gibbs, one of my favorites. So it's fascinating that in just a year you've built up over 100 clients, and I follow you on Facebook, and your clients adore you. They don't just like you, they adore you. They rave about you. You mentioned that you're not really big on cold calling or networking. How do you advise your clients to develop new prospects, if not those two ways?
Yeah, so I've always affectionately referred to myself as an inbound salesperson, and I suppose I have a slightly controversial view when it comes to lead generation, in the sense that for me, the outbound side of sales is actually more of a marketing activity. It's more of sort of, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm used to working in huge teams with, a sales and marketing. And to me, they're very incestuous departments. One can't function without the other. And to me, the marketing is the outreach. It's showing people what you do. It's bringing people into your world, etc. And then the sales is when they become a bit warmer. It's when they start, because again, I like easy things. So I would much prefer to sell to somebody who's already warm, or has at least got a little bit more to like connection with me. So my business coach is actually a branding expert. That's what she does. And I basically follow her philosophy, and that's why I post a lot on social media. I run challenges. I build my email list through things like lead magnets and stuff like that. I do things like this and sort of say hi, get myself out there. Because then for me, I'm spending my time from a sales point of view, talking to people who are already kind of on that journey. They're not completely cold. They're not somebody like, I refer to cold DMs as pitch slapping. When you add somebody on Facebook and they're instantly in with a pitch, I'm like, okay, buy a girl a drink first. Like, kind of like, it is very much like flirting in a new relationship, where you've got to like schmooze and be a bit kind of flirty and romantic with it. You don't just go straight for the jugular. Um, and I suppose that also comes from corporate. Like, I was very big on more account management than sales, and making sure that my clients knew that they were really valued and that they were looked after. And if they had problems, that's what I was there for. I'm not there just to sell you something. I'm here to make your life easier and to solve that problem for you. And then in turn, they go and rave about how amazing you are to everybody. And the energy industry, anyone who's ever worked in power generation, it's extremely incestuous. Everyone just moves from one place to another. Everyone knows each other. So I suppose I come from that, rather than the kind of seeing everybody as a prospect. I see them as a new relationship that I can build and that I can grow. And I really teach my clients that it's about building that relationship and giving, so that they then come to you when the time is right for them, or when they see something that they really like that you're offering.
Yeah, I love that. First of all, I love teaching people how to cold call, but I don't want to do it either.
Yeah, no.
I want people to raise their hand and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm interested
exactly.
in what you've got." And one of the things I despise, because people do the same thing on LinkedIn. You connect with them, and the next thing you know, you're getting a pitch.
Boom.
Horrible. And I say the same thing. That's like me walking into a bar, coming up to you and going, "Hey, I know I'm a geezer, except want to come back to my place?
You know, like, you're like,
No drink, no conversation, nothing." It just doesn't happen. So I'm with you 1,000,000%. Good morning. Somebody who said morning, Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but morning to you. Good morning, Ray Schwetz. Good to see you, my friend. Steve Kent, always good to see you. And Heidi Felix, Miss Positive Attitude herself. Who are Spammy Pammy and Pushy Paul? I do follow you.
Yeah, so Spammy Pammy and Pushy Paul are my two negative brand avatars. They are my brand enemies. Basically, a Spammy Pammy is somebody who is pitch slapping. So they're sending you a DM straight away. They're the sort of people that will come and pitch their offers on your posts in groups or your posts on your wall. They are the sort of person that do not take no for an answer. They will constantly, I won't mention any names, but I saw a big name in an industry, shall we say, talking about how even somebody saying that they're not interested was a level of interest. And I was like, no, if I'm not interested, you constantly messaging me is only going to make me more annoyed and much less likely to buy from you. So that's somebody that I see as a spammy pammy, somebody that is constantly, I mean, posting about your offer, that's not spamming, that's business. That's telling people what you do. But being in somebody's DMs constantly, or emailing somebody 5 million times when they're clearly not interested in you, that's spammy as far as I'm concerned. And Pushy Paul is essentially these people who think that the aggressive closing technique is something that everybody should be using. You know, those coaches or those business owners that are, you know, well, if you cared about your business, you'd find the money, you'd take out a loan, you'd put it on your credit card, etc. The people who literally will not take no for an answer, and they'll push every button going to try and get that sale. And these two avatars are essentially what I use as my don't do this. Like, do not do this. This is not sales. Because I think that's why, I mean, everyone in here will get it. We get a bad rep. Salespeople get a bad rep. Like, you tell someone you're a sales coach and it instantly turns into like a fairy tale movie where everyone's got their pitchforks and they're like, you know, you're like banished from the club. You're not allowed in. And it's like, no, I come in peace. Like, I'm not that kind of person. So for me, that's who they are. They're the opposite of what I believe is the best and actually the most effective sales techniques. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
Again, I agree 1,000,000%. You know, when somebody gives you an objection, that doesn't mean you walk away. But when somebody says no, to me, no means no, or at least no for right now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't have any time to waste. The one thing I suggest you can't get back is your time. You can
Yeah,
almost always regain your health, almost always if you get sick. You can always make more money, but you can't get back your time. So why would I want to waste my time trying to convince people who don't want to buy from me? I'm more interested in working with people who are engaged in the conversation. And when,
totally.
I nearly, my stomach just clenched when you talked about the high pressure people who, no is just a form of yes. When this group's been together almost 2 years now. We've got
Mhm.
about 1,100 members, and I've looked at other sales groups on Facebook, and so many of them are filled with, you got to be crushing and you got to be killing. And when somebody says no, you beat them over the head until they go into submission. And
Just
so many of
really,
them seem to be filled with bragging about how much money they make and what kind of car they drive. I make a good deal of money and I drive a nice car, but
yes.
if I have to tell you about that, then I'm not doing my job properly.
Yeah, I
Why
mean,
should I?
like I get there's so much of what goes on in those groups and within that kind of sphere of sales that they are legitimate sales techniques. So showing status symbols, showing things that attract your clients to sort of, because if say you're a mindset coach, for instance, and you are constantly posting about how your mindset is crap and you're like, that your life is falling apart. I'm not going to pay you because I'm going to think to myself, well, if you can't sort your own shit out, you can't sort mine. Like, it's not going to happen. But yeah, we don't all need to be posing in front of a rented house and a Lamborghini to pretend that we're making millions every year.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to a doctor who smokes and is fat, but
No, not in his office anyway. That would be a bit weird.
exactly not. Something that you said recently, which I
Mhm.
love, you said sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Here in the States, we say sell the sizzle, not the steak. But could you explain to people what does that actually mean and maybe give some examples?
Yeah. So selling the sizzle, not the. I'm a great fan of analogies and random puns and silly phrases that will get stuck in my clients' heads. Usually to my detriment because I will spend so much time trying to think of something that's going to get stuck there. But sell the sizzle, not the sausage or the steak, for the American listeners, is it's basically that you should be selling the benefits to your client, not the features of your offer. Nobody cares how many calls they're going to get in a coaching package. No one cares about, well, I mean, I care about like what does the tech back end look like, but that's because I'm an engineering nerd, so that's fine. But most people they don't care about the actual product that they're buying. They care about how is it going to make my life better? How is it going to get me to my desired self? How is it going to improve my life in some way, shape, or form? And I see it a lot where people worry so much about that they're not including enough, usually with higher ticket stuff as well, where they like, I need to list absolutely everything. And they forget that the client doesn't give a shit about that. They don't care. They want to know, what am I going to look like at the end of this? How is my life going to be better? And when I was selling service contracts and when I was selling software, it's exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you're selling to an individual. So if you're doing B2C and kind of coaching or something, or if you're selling multi-million dollar corporate contracts, all they care about is how is my life going to be better? So they don't care about the software, they care about the return on investment. They don't care about the physical product. They care about the efficiency increases that they're going to get from buying an upgraded product, etc. So that's selling the sizzle, not the sausage.
Yeah, I don't know if you have this acronym over there, but we have one here, WIFM, WIIFM, which stands for What's in it for me. And
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
yeah, it's called the WIFM.
Nice.
And the example I give all the time is, my car has heated seats. I
Hmm.
don't want heated seats. I want a warm ass.
What do I ask? Yeah, exactly.
Heated steering wheel. I don't want a heated steering wheel. I want warm
Warm
hands. So,
hands.
and so many salespeople are very good at explaining every single
Yeah.
thing, but that's not what people are listening for. I love the way you expressed it. They're listening for how's this going to make my life better? How's this going to make my business better? It always boils down to that. And so
Yeah.
many people waste so much time telling everything about everything. Your
Hmm.
prospects don't want to know everything about everything. They just
No.
want to know how's this going to, if I give you money, what's it going to do for me? And
Yeah.
I think if we get better at that, that's how we close more business. And
Oh, totally. Especially with like sales calls and things and demos and stuff. I've been on the receiving end of it where I've literally, people have lost the sale from me because they've spent half an hour of a 1 hour meeting telling me the features and the buttons and the widgets and stuff. And I'm sat there going, yeah, well, I'll figure that out myself, but how is it going to make my life better? Like, what am I getting from it? You want me to give you, say, 500 grand. When am I going to get that back? Like, how quickly is it going to make me money? That's all I care about. I don't care whether or not the software is blue or purple, or if you can make it in my brand colors. Like, okay, I don't care. I want to know how it's going to make my life better. And if you tell me that right at the beginning, and even if you tell me that every single time you're talking about a feature, then I'm constantly thinking, not only is this going to make my life better, but you actually care that you're going to make my life better. You're not just trying to sell me this thing that you've been told to go out and sell. You've actually thought about my circumstances and my business, and you're solving the problem that I have. So I feel heard as a client, and I'm much more likely to give you the time of day and talk to you and go through that process. Because
Right.
especially with big contracts, like I've worked on contracts for like 18 months to get things over the line, like not quick wins. Like when you're building a power station, that shit's like, it's a long process. Like it's not something that happens overnight. And if the first conversation I'm having with someone, I'm thinking, you're not listening to me and you don't care, I'm not going to spend the next 18 months talking to you, because that's going to drain the hell out of me. I'm going to go and find the guy or the girl or whoever who actually is listening to me and is actually taking my circumstances into account.
Yeah, we want to take the word "I" out of our conversation as much as it's not possible to get it completely out, but it really is not about us. I always suggest that sales is service. It's coming from a place of serving others,
Totally.
and you know, so many salespeople do focus on the features. I find the easiest way. It's not that you're not going to talk about the features, but the easiest way to point out the benefits of the prospect is after any feature, just follow that with, and here's what that does for you, or, and here's what that means to you, or, and here's how that's going to help you, because that's really all they're listening for. You can literally watch people's eyes glaze over as you're talking about every feature. They don't care. How's it going to affect my life, my business, my company?
It's also why, sorry, Jeff, it's
no,
one of the reasons, the first question that I ask every coaching client, every corporate client, every salesperson I've ever worked with, the first question I ask them is, what problem do you solve? So what problem does your client have? And 95% of people will tell me the product that they sell, not the problem that they solve. So they'll say to me, oh, I build people websites. I'm like, but that's not solving a problem. That's the solution to the problem. And then I go all coachy and I do the, okay, so ask yourself why 5 times, like keep going. Because if you can really get to that core problem that you solve for somebody, it doesn't matter what you're selling, you will be able to sell it better, because you will really, really understand that. And that will come across in posts that you put out, copy on websites, proposals that you write. All of that language then becomes about solving that problem and solving that for your client, not about, oh, this widget does that and this button does this. It's about making that, if you can solve that problem, that client's already there. Then it's just a case of how much is it going to cost me and when can I have it?
Yeah, I believe that your clients and my clients could not care less that we're sales coaches or sales trainers. They only care about, can you help me increase my sales?
And I tell people,
I had a client tell me something. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I tell people, I don't sell sales coaching. I sell logic. I sell structure. I sell clarity, because that's what my clients want. They don't want training. Well, they do. They think they want sales training because they're like, well, my sales isn't good enough. I need to bring sales up. But that's not actually their problem. Their problem is that they don't actually know what to do, or they haven't worked out those steps to get to that point. They're trying to jump to the end. They're trying to run a marathon when they haven't trained for a 5K yet. We're still kind of there. And that's what I sell. I sell that clarity. I sell that confidence for people, because giving somebody a structure gives them confidence. And if you're, like, we all know, like, sales is just confidence and coffee. Let's be honest. Like, with enough coffee and enough confidence, you can sell anything. So Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because I've been in this business a long, long time, and about 2 years ago, I was debriefing with a client after a year and a half engagement with their company, and I was asking them, what could I have done better? What would you like to see differently? What did you like best?
Mhm.
And every manager in the company said the same thing. The thing that we like best now, Jeff, is our salespeople have more confidence. And in
Yeah.
all the years I've been doing this, it never, ever once, not one time occurred to me that I give salespeople more confidence. Of course, it was the type of thing that when they said, I'm like, oh, of course. How did I not realize that? But I find that your clients are your best source of business intelligence.
100%.
Ask them what they like about
Mhm.
working with you. So I love that. Why do you think it's important to celebrate wins? I agree, but why do you think that's so important?
Um, being brutally honest, sales is brutal. Sales is really brutal. I have heard no more times than I have had hot dinners in my career. Like, I remember when I first went into sales, and one of the like old boys on the team was like, Hannah, if you can get more than a 25% conversion rate, you are killing it in this game. Like, it's hard. And I remember sitting there and thinking, shit, that's not a good conversion rate. Like, I want more. Like, I want to be winning all the time. But he was true. Like, it was true, because you're going up against other people that are just as good at what they do as you, especially in heavy industries. Um, and it was something that my dad told me when I got my first international sales job, and I won my first order, and I got my first commission check. And it wasn't big, like it was, a couple of $100 or so. Well, I think it's about, yeah, about 500 or 600 bucks. Like, it wasn't groundbreaking. Like, I wasn't running out and buying a Lamborghini with it. But my dad said to me, he was like, you need to buy something. You need to celebrate this, so that every time you hear no from now on, you can remember that moment. You can remember that win. And it doesn't matter how small it is or how big it is. I celebrate with my clients. In my network, I have a channel that's called Howl About It. We're a pack. So, funnily enough, it's all wolf themed. Um, and every single month, I will go in there and I'll say, what are we celebrating? And I don't care if it's financial. I don't care if it's you've made somebody smile, that you've had more time at home with your kids, or that your partner has done something. I want people to get into the habit of celebrating themselves and celebrating their achievements, because this industry can kill you, and it can really, really be brutal. And if you don't celebrate those wins, you will always only focus on the negatives.
It's great.
So yeah, that's why I'm so big about celebrating wins, because I've had those bad ones. Like, I've lost contracts that I've thought, well, that's a year of my life I'm not getting back, because it's not. Everyone always celebrates. Like, everyone always tells you in sales about the good things. My dad does have a phrase, but it's probably not PC enough to tell everybody. Um, but we always celebrate the successes, and we always celebrate those good things, and that's all you see. Like, sales, like business owners aren't going to brag, oh, I had the lowest turnover month I've ever had. Like that, no one's shouting about that online. So you have to celebrate those good things, because
Yeah,
otherwise you feel like you're just alone.
I'm with you. Somebody saying he or she loves the habit of celebrating the wins, no matter how small. I when I work with sales teams, I tell them to create a culture of CAW, celebrate all wins. And
Mhm.
I say everybody should have some kind of a ritual. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, and Tony Robbins anchors things like doing that. Whenever I close a deal, I always go, yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I've closed out the Zoom call or the phone call. I wait till I
Yeah.
leave their office.
All at the same time.
But
Yeah.
you do
Oh,
want to
bye.
anchor that feeling, because it feels
Yeah.
good when you win, and we do get beat up so often. And I
Mhm.
believe I know the answer to this, but didn't you celebrate that first commission check by buying something in particular?
I did, yes. So I bought myself a pair of Christian Louboutin heels. That was my. It also had the added benefit of, because I'm very competitive, shocking as a salesperson. Um, it also had the added benefit of annoying a couple of other people in the team who were like, "Well, why is she winning and I'm not?" It's like, well, maybe if you worked harder, like maybe if you were better at your job, you'd be okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
but yeah, and even now they're that thing that if I'm having a bad day, if I've got to put the extra hours in, or I'm just, I'm not feeling great, even if I'm in like my slobs, like my trackies and like a hoodie, I can put them on my feet and I get that feeling. I get that instant kind of, okay, yeah, let's go. Like this is what I need to be doing. So yeah, I'm all about buying things.
I'm with you. It's like American football. It's like when a quarterback throws the ball 5 feet and somebody catches it, they both make millions and millions of dollars, but they're congratulating each other. They're high-fiving and they're chest bumping. And why? Because it feels good. And when something feels good, you want to do it again and again and again. Tahuro, I hope I just pronounced your name correctly. Islam says hi. Why is sales strategy so important?
Oh, this is my favorite topic.
Well, I'm glad
I
I
love the
asked that.
strategy. For me, the strategy is so important because I think a lot of people think that a strategy is really confining and that it's like, oh, well, if I write it down and I create a strategy, then I can't do extra things. But for me, it's really liberating and it's actually the opposite. It allows you to be so much more flexible. Because by creating a strategy for your business when it comes to sales and having that client journey outlined and having your offer portfolio, so you know exactly like, okay, somebody's bought this, what's next, what's the next problem that I'm solving for them and how can I solve it. It takes away that stress, it takes away that overwhelm of constantly having to think to yourself, oh god, what, okay, oh yeah, so I've got this and maybe I could do that. We've all been there when you're on a call with a client and they suddenly go from driving to the left to go straight right, and you're like, if you haven't got that, if you haven't got that plan, you haven't got those things written down and that understanding within your business or the business that you work for, then it can really throw you, and then you lose your confidence, and then everything you feel like you're scrambling. I also like, maybe it's the, well, it is the engineer in me, let's not pretend it's anything else. I like knowing where I'm going. So a big part of what I teach is working within your capacity. I, from a corporate point of view, it's not something that I'm proud of, but I have been through burnout. I have had that corporate burnout. I've worked far too many hours doing far too much, and it affected me really badly. And that was because I wasn't working within the hours, within my capacity. I was trying to do too much. And now I'm such an advocate for business owners and salespeople, making sure that they are working within their capacity. And by having that strategy and having things in place, you know how much time you have to work with on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So if somebody comes to you and says, oh, well, I want you to do this massive project, you can see very quickly, well, do I have the capacity for that? What have I got to drop in order to do it? And the same works from just a sales perspective. So if you are a salesperson within a business, it came from me, firstly, because I work for a manufacturing facility. So capacity is huge. The amount of times that you'd be told on a monthly, okay, stop selling this because we can't do it. So you need to go this way. We need to try and fill this workshop. But also because at the beginning of the year, you're given a target. There's no plan. You're just told, this is the number that you need to hit this year. And I remember being given that target as a 26-year-old woman, sat there going, I'm sorry, what? You want me to bring in how much? And I had no idea. And I went into panic mode and I went into, oh shit, oh my God, imposter syndrome's coming in. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? This is ridiculous. And as soon as I sat down and I went, okay, so this is how much the product costs. If I sell X of those, then I can hit that target. Okay, that number feels less scary. Okay, well, what about upsells? Where can I increase my current clients' order value? Where can I add extra stuff? Oh, okay, that makes it even easier because I only have to go after X brand new clients rather than double that. So having that strategy for me is really calming because logic is calming. Logic takes that overwhelm away. And by creating that for your business or for your targets throughout the year, it allows you in those moments of panic, or if you maybe haven't had as good quarter as you wanted to have, to be able to go back and go, okay, well, what can I do based on this strategy that I did when I was nice and calm and I had the time to now move forward and overcome that problem, rather than just go into panic. Oh shit, I'm going to ring every single person that I've ever met and see if they want to buy the thing that they have no interest in buying.
Not a great strategy.
No, not one that I'd advocate.
Yeah, amazingly, we're more than halfway through. So for anybody who's joined us late, we're talking with Hannah Walker, sales coach. This is the Sales Pro Network podcast and vlogcast. And you mentioned something a few moments ago that I know you're incredibly big on. Can you speak a little bit about why you're so big on upselling and how people can do that?
Yeah, upselling is one of my favorite things, mainly because my first commission check came from an upsell. And the reason that I love upselling so much is because it is something like 10 times easier. It's about the only time that I like using 10 times when it comes to sales. um, it's kind of I think it's either between 10 or 12 times easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to sell to a brand new customer. So conversion rates for cold leads usually sit between 1 and 10%, depending on what you're selling. And upsells are usually between 50 and 70% from a conversion rate point of view. And I like easy wins. I don't know about you, but if someone sticks me in a room with 10 people and tells me these 3 people are more likely to buy than those 7, well, I know who I'm talking to. I'm not going to go talk to the people that I've really got to work my ass off to try and get that. So it's something that I advocate for people, because back to kind of the whole problem solving thing, just because you've solved one problem, how can I help you next? Now how can we move forward? It's a journey. It's a relationship that I want to build with someone. So for me, it's not just about kind of like getting a brand new customer and then being like, okay, bye, I'm on to find someone else that I care about. It's that account management. It's making sure that my existing clients love the service that they're getting, because as you said before, they then rave about you. They then tell everybody how amazing you are, how fantastic, like how much you've changed their life. And other people that were completely cold are now starting to warm up because they're seeing this. Referrals are such a great way of getting work. So if you've got people, I call them my silent sales team, because they're going out and talking about me when I'm not there, when I don't know about it. They're going into Facebook groups and shouting about this thing that they learned from their sales coach, Hannah Walker, and those people then go and check me out and they become my followers and they become my audience, and that then grows. And my favorite upselling technique, which is actually what I run a 5-day challenge around, is something that I actually learned from a guy who used to work in the casinos in Vegas. And it's called the +1, or he called it the +1 technique. And it's about basically showing your clients the next level of service from what they've already bought from you. And the best analogy that I can give is airlines. Airlines are fantastic at the +1. So if you're a frequent flyer with somebody like Emirates or United Airlines or something, every now and then you might get the tap. When you book an economy flight and they come and they give you the tap and they're like, follow me. And they take you into the beautiful world that is business class. And you see how damn good business class is and how amazing it is and how incredible you feel. It doesn't cost them a penny. Once the doors are closed to that plane, they're not selling that seat. The food's already on there, the drinks are there, the seat will go empty. So they use it as a way of giving their existing and frequent flyers a +1 to show them that they're valued and that they're cared for. And then the next time you book your seats, you might not buy business class, because that jump it's a jump. Like, don't get me wrong. People will though. They'll go, nah, I'm never flying economy again. Like, I'm never flying coach. That's it. Like, it's business or nothing. But they might buy extended legroom, or they might buy priority check-in because
Absolutely.
they want to feel special. They want to move forward. So that's something that I teach my clients, is how to create
Brilliant.
that plus one in your business that you can give your existing clients and showcase that higher level offering, that level with more service that has higher ticket. Because not only are they much more likely to convert, but if you make them feel special and make them feel valued, they're even more likely to convert.
Brilliant. Yeah. And your example could not be more timely. As we were speaking
Yeah.
before we got on, I just got back from Las Vegas last night at midnight. And when I was checking in to go, there's a lovely message when you're in, would you like to select a different seat? And I'm like, I'll take a look. And oh, for just $800 more, you can have first class. I'm like, I'm not paying $800 more, but I did pay $100 more for the extra legroom, which was well worth it both ways, because it does make a difference. And it's like, it's kind of like a drug dealer also. It's like, here's a little taste. Do you like that? Ah, you can get more now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
And my friend Peter Ekstrom says, bloody good. Cheers. He likes what he's hearing. Peter happens to love cold calling. He has the gold call. He's an expert in cold calling and teaches people how to do that.
I'm not against cold calling. I think it's just, for me, it's not, I do other things for me and it's working, and a lot of my clients, and but there are some industries where you have to. You do have to just pick up the phone and do it. Like,
I'm not against it either. I'm just against me doing it. I often say,
me personally, like, someone else can do it, that's perfectly fine, but please don't make me do it.
I do it once a month just for a little bit, just to make sure that what I'm teaching other people is still working. But I often say I'd rather live in my car than ever have to cold call again.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done enough for me.
Yeah. What's the key to recurring income?
Recurring income. So for me, I am a lover of a retainer contract. A retainer contract is one of my favorite things, because it's not only is it good for me because I can forecast my income and I know what my targets are, and things, which is always lovely as a business owner to know what's coming. But it's also about that relationship building for me with clients, having recurring income, having a way that they can work with you on a recurring basis and get access to you either through a group program or a subscription service, a membership site, which is how I do it mainly. But also some of my corporate clients have retainer contracts. They don't necessarily get, sometimes it feels a bit scammy because I'm like, I don't know what you're paying for because you haven't rang me in 2 weeks. I'm kind of like, hello. But you're essentially, what they're paying for is the security that they can ring me, that if something goes wrong, they can pick up the phone and somebody that they trust and whose opinion that they value is there and will drop everything to make sure that they can help them. And that for me is how you get that recurring income, is by building that relationship with people so that they see you as that person that they trust and whose opinion that they value. And that could be anything from a low ticket subscription site or a medium ticket membership platform, all the way up to, multi-figure recurring retainer contracts with corporate clients, where you're going in and doing a one-off training, for instance, but then it's about how about we also add on X months worth of support, where if any of your team need anything, they can drop me an email and I can get back to them. And then if enough of them have the same problem, I can run a mini training or I can run something else. It's all about that value for that client and how are you solving that problem. You're not just fixing. This is literally all I talk about, is like how I'm solving that problem. So you solve the initial, and then how do I keep solving it for you? How do I make sure that problem doesn't come back?
Yeah, I do the same thing with my coaching clients, and my coaching clients do 2 1-hour sessions with me a month, but they have access to me anytime. Call me, email me, text me. Now, I always tell them, look, if you're calling me 5 hours a day every day, we're going to have to work something else out. But
yeah, I have a fair use policy in my terms and conditions. But apart from that, it's like ring as much as you would like.
And the truth is, and I know that you feel the same way, I want to help people.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, I love making money. Don't get me wrong, but I love helping people. I love that feeling that I get. and I don't just say this to be altruistic, but I do love the feeling that I get, and I'm sure you do too, when somebody sends you an email or calls you and says, "Oh, Hannah, I closed a deal that I wouldn't have closed if I hadn't used that technique you showed." I love that stuff.
I even said it to my group yesterday, because they were celebrating some wins and stuff, obviously end of the quarter. So I'm like, come on, like, let's howl, tell me what you're doing. And I said to them, I was like, it's not me being like, I'm not just saying this for effect. I genuinely celebrate their wins more than I celebrate my own.
Absolutely.
Like, I love it.
It's a great feeling to know you've made a difference in somebody's life. It's like one of the things I offer is outsourced sales management. I actually manage companies on an outsourced basis. And I always tell prospective employees, I take this very seriously, because I know that the decision I'm going to make about you affects you and your family. This is heavy stuff. What you and I do helps people pay their bills and feed their families and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Good morning, Don Levine, our executive recruiter on Long Island. Good to see you, my friend. You also say, and we've heard this a million times, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Why do you say that?
So I always say, one of the things, it comes back to upselling. And it's one of the biggest objections that I get from a lot of business owners and salespeople when it comes to upselling. They say, well, my clients can't afford it, or they don't want to buy it. And I always say, well, how do you know that? Have you asked them? And they're, well, I don't think they can. I'm like, okay, so you've made a decision based on what you think somebody can afford. And I, maybe quite brutally, sometimes I akin it to gatekeeping. I'm saying you're basically saying to me that you don't think that person is good enough, or you don't think that person has enough money to buy that offer that you are selling. And then obviously they get defensive, and I'm like, no, I'm not saying that you're a bad person, and I'm not saying in any way that you are actually doing this, but can you see how it might be that, and how by actually holding things back that you are limiting the potential, not just for you, but you're stopping that person from being able to solve their problem because you have judged that book by its cover. You have made a snap decision about somebody, and you have assumed that they cannot afford your offering, or that they cannot afford your product. Yeah. I come from like, I'm very lucky, I'm very privileged in the upbringing that I had. I went to private school, so I'm fully aware that I have that. But one of the things that I always say to people is, some of the richest people that I have ever met, you would never ever know. They drive the one person who had more money than you could ever dream of in the UK. We're kind of like Jeff Bezos level of cash. And they drove the most beaten up car I have ever seen. He was always wearing, tatty jeans and a t-shirt. And when asked about it by one of us in sixth form, because he used to come and do sort of motivational speeches and talk about business and things, and he was like, well, because it doesn't matter. It's like, it doesn't matter what car I drive. It doesn't matter what clothes I'm wearing. If you want to look at my investment portfolio, on the other hand, you'll see quite happily that I have got more than enough money. And it really taught me that it doesn't matter what somebody looks like. Every single person, everyone's money is as good as everyone else's. It doesn't matter whether or not you've got exactly the amount of money to buy something, if you need a payment plan, or you've got more than enough money. If you're a good person, then I want to help you. Simple as.
I think it's also quite often that salespeople are judging the prospect's ability to pay based on their own pocketbook. Yes. I worked with Siemens Corporation in Canada, their hearing aid division, for a long time. And they first contacted me because they had 3 levels of hearing aids, a low priced one, a medium priced one, and an expensive one. And they sold them through clinics, which are just retail stores, which are manned by audiologists, people who do hearing tests. And then it's the audiologist's job to recommend a hearing aid and sell it. And the reason Siemens contacted me was, our audiologists only sell the least expensive hearing aid 98% of the time. We want them to sell the appropriate one. And so I did some investigation. I spoke with a bunch of these audiologists, and what it turned out to be was, they did not make a lot of money. They could not afford the mid-priced or the high-price set. So
Yeah.
it was really a mind thing that I had to work on with them, not sales skills. They had to get out of their head that just because I can't afford it doesn't mean you can't. And for me personally, Hannah, I am never, ever concerned about whether my prospect can afford me or not. That's their issue. I
Exactly.
charge what I charge, and I don't negotiate down a penny. When I tell
Nope.
you my price, that's my price,
That's
period.
nice.
And if you can't afford me, that's okay. I get it. I'm not for everybody. And I know there are people who charge more than me and less than me, but so I'm right for a certain subset of people, but
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
my job to worry about what you've got in your pocket. It's
No.
my job to help you get more in your pocket, but it's not my
Yeah.
job to worry about it. My job is to share with you how I believe I can help you, and hopefully that you understand that, and you either have the money or you don't.
Mhm.
There's something else I wanted to ask you about, though. How do you handle it when somebody says, it's too expensive? It's too expensive, Hannah.
So it's actually something that I kind of like. I love a challenge. um, and for me, when someone says, the most important thing that I tell all of my clients, if somebody comes to you with any objection, and the price objection is usually, especially us Brits, we love a bargain. We love trying to get a deal. Like everyone wants a discount in the UK. That's just what we're like. The first thing that I tell everyone is pause. Don't say anything. Just go quiet. Because and I don't mean like play chicken with your clients. This isn't sort of Wolf of Wall Street negotiation tactics of whoever speaks first loses kind of thing. But the reason I do that is for two things. The first one is that most people have a tendency, as soon as someone comes to you with a price objection, your brain instantly goes into defense mode. So you either start instantly rationalizing why your price is your price, which you shouldn't be doing. Your price is your price. It's, you set it for a very good reason. Or you start instantly thinking about, okay, well, what discount can I give them and how can I get it? Because your brain is in scarcity mode. You're thinking of, oh shit, I need this deal. Like I need to complete this. And the second reason is because your client will fill the gap. So if you pause, then the client will then say, oh, say you've said to me, or I've said to you, oh, well, that seems a bit expensive, Jeff. I mean, because I was looking online and I saw that so and so was doing, and they start to explain where that objection has come from. And then that's how you then understand how you can either overcome that objection by talking to them and telling them more about the value, making sure they're comparing apples with apples, because most people don't. So we compare two things and they are not even vaguely the same thing. If it's a price problem or is it a cash flow problem? So it's actually that they don't have the money in the bank right now, but they could pay in a payment plan. Or my favorite one is that they're actually just not that into you and they actually just don't want to buy it, but they're being polite and telling you that it's too expensive. Or if they genuinely cannot afford it, at which point stop selling. Wish them well for the future. Tell them that you are there if they ever want to come back to you and they want to have that conversation. But that's it. We're not pushing people to buy things that they can't afford and taking food off of their table. That's not how this works. And that's why one of my brand enemies is Pushy Paul, because that is the point at which Pushy Paul would be saying, well, what about your savings? What about your credit cards? How can you do this, etc.? And I'm not in the business of doing that. My integrity is worth more to me.
No, not at all. And I think too often salespeople don't realize that there's a difference between I can't afford it and it's too expensive. I
Yeah.
can't afford it means I just don't have the money. And I get that. Sometimes you just don't have that amount, whatever it is, as much as you might want something. It's too expensive means you have not shown them the value. When somebody says to you, it's too expensive, that's on you, not them.
Yeah.
The salesperson has not done a good enough job of showing them, as you said early on in this conversation, they don't see the benefit. If they see the benefit, they will find the money almost every time. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to large corporations. Yeah. Oh, we'd love to do training, but we just don't have it in the budget. My response is always budget. We're not talking about budget. We're nowhere near discussing budget.
Yeah, we haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, let's just get together and chat and let's see if you like what we have to offer. And that way, when your budget opens up, you'll think of us. And inevitably, seriously, almost every time when I've had that conversation, it's like they somehow miraculously find the budget because they've seen the value in doing business with you. that's our job. How do we express the value in the way that the other person gets it? I can't afford it. Different objection entirely. And by the way, I hate phrase overcoming objections. Nobody likes to be overcome. I prefer helping people work through their objection.
Exactly. We're talking through an objection. We're having that. I mean, I do use the phrase overcoming sometimes, because I think one of the reasons that I can say that sometimes is because for me, a lot of my client, it comes back to the whole confidence thing in sales training, is that a lot of people in sales are terrified of objections. It's something that we're like, that I've seen, especially newbies sometimes, they're kind of like, but what happens if they come at me with an objection? You're like, that's just an opportunity for you to have a conversation and build that relationship and talk more. So you're overcoming your own objections sometimes as well, and being able to kind of work through it. That, yeah, some people are going to say no to you. It's like aversion therapy. You have to sell. Like, we're all going to have to get used to being told no, because we're in sales. That's how this works.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes, like you say, it's not about overcoming it. It's about talking through it and seeing if it is a genuine objection or it's just
smoke.
Yeah, it's just smoke.
Yeah. A real objection means you're still in the game. It means I want to do business with you, but there's this in the way. A smoke objection, I mean, blowing smoke up your,
Yeah.
That means that they're just trying to get rid of you. And I agree with you. You said it earlier. The best thing you can do when that happens is, really enjoyed meeting with you. If you ever change your mind and would like to do business, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then I always say, leave skid marks in their driveway getting away and go talk to somebody who's actually interested. Stop wasting time with people who are never going to do business with you. The sales trainers and coaches who are big on, beat them into submission. I'm not into that. I have no patience for it. And I don't want it done to me. I treat people the way I want to be treated, and I don't want to be beat up. Totally. Show me what you've got. If I'm interested, I'm going to let you know. I've got my wallet. Don't worry about it. But don't beat me up.
Yeah, I'll quite happily buy it, but
not necessary. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Let's see if we can get one more quick question. Oh, here's one I like. What is pitching with pride?
So pitching with pride. I love that you've just gone through all of my trainings, I think. So pitching with pride, this is, it's the phrase that I use. So pitching is something that we all have to do in business, not just salespeople. Every single business owner has to pitch at some point in your life. And for me, pitching with pride is about creating your pitch that aligns with you and shows your integrity, so that you can go out and shine. And you can be super proud of what you're doing and what you're saying and how you're making those people feel when you're pitching to them. Because if you're not proud of what you're selling, no one's going to buy it. Simple as.
Yeah. Pitch, like overcome objections, or like the word close. You don't really close anything. You open a relationship. It's just the word all salespeople use. But pitch is a word I truly hate, because it implies that you're a con artist or something like that. To me, sales is simply this. Sales is a conversation or a series of conversations leading to help the other person choose to do business with you. I don't know your feelings, but I don't talk anybody into anything. I don't think I'm good enough to do that, and I don't want to. I just want to have enough good chats with people so that enough of them say, Jeff, you know what? I need some of what you got, because I think that's our job. Just go have great conversations with a bunch of people. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Hannah, I'm going to share my screen. Could you please tell people how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you or chatting with you or finding out how to do business with you?
Yeah, so main easiest way of getting in touch with me, or even if you just want to follow me and see the stuff that I post and hopefully get some value from it, is mainly on my Facebook profile. So I use my profile rather than a page, which is just Hannah Walker. You'll see this face staring back at you. So feel free to either follow me or send me a friend request. I'm also on Instagram. If you like watching random reels, I like playing around. It's more of a fun platform for me. And if there's anything specific, if you want to talk about, if you do want to work with me, or you even just want to open up a conversation so that we can get to know each other, then my email's there as well. So it's just hannah@hannahwalkerconsultancy.com.
Great. Well, Hannah, we're going to have to do this again. And next time we'll talk about rock music, which we were talking about for a good 10 minutes before we started chatting, because we're both lovers of that. Hannah Walker, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your brilliance with us generously. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are delicious. And I love when people say the same things that I believe in. Hannah, I'm going to end this as I do every week. The game is, guys, sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great weekend. See you soon.